In the forgotten depths of Boston, far below the bustling streets and echoing footsteps of everyday life, lay an old abandoned subway system. Here, in this hidden world, lived a man known only to a few as Patrick. He had the heart and mind of a man, but the appearance of a beast. With his lion-like features and immense strength, Patrick had found solace and purpose in the shadows, creating a sanctuary for those who, like him, had been cast aside by society. The tunnels were his home, a labyrinthine refuge where he and a small community of outcasts lived in relative peace. Patrick was their protector and leader, a beacon of strength and wisdom. Despite the darkness and decay of their surroundings, Patrick's presence brought warmth and hope to the underground world. One cold autumn night, the tranquility of Patrick's realm was shattered. The distant, muffled sounds of a struggle echoed through the tunnels, growing louder and more desperate. Patrick, his keen senses alert, followed the sounds to a rarely used entrance to the old subway system. There, he found a woman lying motionless on the cold, damp ground, her body battered and bruised. Her name was Victoria, a dedicated and fearless attorney who had been investigating a dangerous criminal syndicate. Her pursuit of justice had led her into the crosshairs of powerful enemies who had left her for dead in the dark alleyways of Boston. Patrick's heart ached at the sight of her fragile form, and without hesitation, he gently lifted her and carried her to his underground sanctuary. Victoria awoke to the sound of dripping water and the faint, soothing hum of distant machinery. The air was cool and damp, and the dim light of flickering candles cast dancing shadows on the walls. She tried to sit up, but a wave of pain washed over her, and she fell back onto the makeshift bed with a groan. She turned her head and saw Patrick for the first time. His imposing figure and leonine features would have been terrifying if not for the kindness in his eyes. She stared at him, her mind struggling to reconcile his appearance with the sense of safety she felt in his presence. Patrick introduced himself and reassured her that she was safe. Over the next few days, Patrick cared for Victoria with unwavering dedication. He tended to her wounds, brought her food and water, and kept her company in the long hours of her recovery. Victoria learned about the underground community and the man who had saved her. She was captivated by Patrick's strength and gentleness, by his intelligence and his deep empathy. As her strength returned, Victoria began to explore the tunnels, meeting the other inhabitants and seeing firsthand the world Patrick had built. She was struck by the resilience and camaraderie of the community, by the sense of belonging they had found in each other. Despite their hardships, there was warmth and love in the darkness. Patrick and Victoria's bond grew stronger with each passing day. They shared stories of their lives, their hopes and dreams, and their fears. Victoria spoke of her work as an attorney, her relentless pursuit of justice, and the dangers that came with it. Patrick shared his own story of how he had been born different and had been forced to hide from the world above. Victoria encouraged Patrick, reminding him of his inner strength and the goodness that shone through his exterior. She asked him about love and his desires for companionship. Patrick revealed his feelings for her, confessing that he had thought love impossible until meeting her. Victoria, moved by his words, promised they would face the world together. Their happiness was short-lived. The criminal syndicate Victoria had been investigating had not forgotten her. They discovered she was still alive and tracked her to the vicinity of the old subway system. One night as Patrick and Victoria were walking through the tunnels, they heard the sound of footsteps and voices echoing off the walls. Patrick's senses went on high alert. He knew they had to act quickly. Leading Victoria through a series of narrow passages, he tried to evade their pursuers. However, the syndicate's men were closing in. Patrick knew the tunnels well, but understood the enemies were armed and ruthless. To protect their underground community, Patrick decided they needed to confront the threat directly. He and Victoria prepared to fight, fueled by their love and determination. The battle was brutal, but together they managed to drive the attackers back. As the last of the syndicate's men fled, Victoria and Patrick stood side by side, breathing heavily, their bodies battered, but their spirits unbroken. As Victoria's strength returned and her wounds healed, she longed to see her home again, to reclaim a sense of normalcy. Patrick, despite his fears of the world above, understood her need and agreed to accompany her. They chose a quiet night to visit her apartment, hoping to avoid drawing attention. Victoria's home, nestled in a quiet neighborhood, felt foreign and fragile to Patrick. He marveled at the simplicity and warmth of it, feeling both out of place and comforted by her personal touches. Victoria showed him around, sharing memories attached to various objects and photos, all while Patrick stood by her side, his presence a comforting anchor. Unbeknownst to them, the syndicate had not given up. They had been watching Victoria's apartment, waiting for her return. As Patrick and Victoria settled in, the danger crept closer. Patrick's heightened senses caught the faintest sound of footsteps approaching, the unmistakable scent of danger in the air. He moved quickly, shielding Victoria as the door was forced open and armed men burst in. Patrick's beastly strength came to the fore, his movements a blur of power and precision. He fought with a ferocity that left their attackers stunned, his growls echoing through the apartment as he protected Victoria with everything he had. The struggle was intense, the small space amplifying the chaos. Patrick's strength and Victoria's quick thinking turned the tide, but not without cost. Patrick sustained injuries, his body bearing the brunt of the fight to keep Victoria safe. As the last of the attackers fled, Victoria rushed to Patrick's side, her hands shaking as she tended to his wounds. The following days were filled with a tense silence. Victoria knew the syndicate would not stop until she was silenced. Patrick's injuries weighed heavily on her heart, fueling her determination to end the threat once and for all. With Patrick's consent, she reached out to trusted allies above ground, sharing the evidence she had gathered and coordinating a plan to bring the syndicate to justice. Patrick, despite his pain, supported her every step of the way. His strength was unwavering, his resolve matching hers. They worked together, their bond growing even stronger in the face of adversity. The underground community rallied behind them, providing support and resources. The plan was set in motion. Victoria and Patrick, along with a small group of trusted allies, moved to take down the syndicate. It was a dangerous mission, but they were prepared. Victoria's legal expertise and Patrick's formidable strength were a powerful combination, their love and determination driving them forward. The final confrontation took place in an old warehouse, a fittingly dark and grim setting for the showdown. Patrick's presence was a fearsome sight, his leonine features and immense strength striking terror into the hearts of their enemies. Victoria's courage and intelligence guided their actions, her strategic mind ensuring they stayed one step ahead. The fight was brutal, a clash of wills and strength. Patrick's roars echoed through the warehouse, his beastly power unleashed in full. Victoria's quick thinking and legal acumen kept them focused, her determination unwavering. Together they fought with everything they had, their love and resolve shining through the darkness. In the end, they emerged victorious. The syndicate was dismantled, its leaders brought to justice, Patrick and Victoria stood together, bruised and battered but triumphant. Their love had carried them through, their strength and determination proving unstoppable. With the threat eliminated, Patrick and Victoria could finally breathe a sigh of relief. They stood together at the entrance to the tunnels, looking out at the city above. They were ready to face the world together, walking out of the shadows and into the light, ready to build a life together. They knew there would be challenges ahead, but their love was strong enough to overcome any obstacle. Patrick's strength and Victoria's courage had forged an unbreakable bond, their love a beacon of hope in a dark world. Together, they had found happiness. Within the sadness, warmth within the cold, and a future within the ruins of the past. In the end, it was not the darkness of the tunnels that defined them, but the light of their love and the strength of their hearts. And so, in the heart of Boston, the story of Patrick and Victoria lived on, a testament to the enduring power of love and the unbreakable bond between two souls who had found each other against all odds. Their story became a legend, a tale of love and perseverance that echoed through the tunnels and streets of Boston. It was a story of finding light in the darkest of places, of discovering love when it seemed impossible, and of standing strong together against all odds. Patrick and Victoria, two souls united by fate, had created a life filled with love, hope, and endless possibilities. Their journey was a reminder that even in the most unlikely of circumstances, love could thrive, bringing warmth and light to even the darkest corners of the world.